Let's turn that down. We're live. Hello. Hello, bienvenue. Welcome. Karibu. Hi. Welcome to another live stream. Even though I just did a live stream like 40 minutes ago, I am on a roll to get these bad boys done before Christmas because reasons. So we are on live stream number five. And yes, I'm using the Yeti today. I'm using a different cable, so it might be pretty noisy. If it is, let me know in the comments. Again, if you hit this on the replay, let me know you're hitting this on the replay because it's always appreciated. My cat is awake because his feeding time was 5 o'clock. And I've deliberately not left his food out, so he's actually kind of pissed off. So he will probably be attacking me momentarily to demand his feeding. Otherwise, he wants to wear my face. That is custom. So, yeah, moving into today's episode, live stream episode, we are covering, apparently, a brief introduction to future-proofing your podcast. Now, this is something I've got here because I have watched so many people's podcasts come up and then just mine included. Like, for the sake of transparency, mine included. Only because with mine, I didn't have a plan. I just started it literally like the previous live stream where you start a podcast in an afternoon. That was me with Anchor, a little bit jaded, but still. I didn't have a plan because I started it before I even formally started editing podcasts for clients. And now I've done it and I've been all over the place, just getting all the information, trying to understand what this thing is. And this is something that people are not putting into practice. And that is future-proofing your podcast. So I'm looking down because, as usual, my book of notes is down here. And I have bullet points because my ADHD cookie brain likes to go all over the place and we're trying to keep it succinct. I think that's how you say the word, succinct. And also, I'm going to do the usual thing of popping into the Book of Faces via my phone, my live stream on my phone, just to see what's good. All right, no one is commenting yet. That's great. Hey, look, it's me. So with this, I have four things here. I'm just going to say them out loud so you have an idea of what to expect over the next probably 20 minutes, hopefully less. So the first one is leverage your passion. Number 2 is reuse your episodes in other assets, so your business assets. Number 3, have planned breaks, like consider your podcast production style because your breaks will be included in there. And a best of, which is the secret source or secret sauce. I think I wrote both of them in there. So first off, before going into those bullet points, I want to expand and get you used to the idea of this phrase podfade. So podfade is the phenomena that you see and you experience if you are into listening to podcasts, where a podcast doesn't necessarily kind of tie a neat bow at the end of it. It just kind of like an episode happens and then it just peters out and that's it. And there's nothing in the show notes. If you try to go to the website, there's nothing there. There's various podcasts I've tried to follow up with weirdly enough entrepreneurial friends who have done them in the past, and I wanted to go see what they're up to podcast wise, and the whole thing has just disappeared. All you have left is this really awkward husk, driftwood left on the internet of what used to be there. And that usually happens by way of web pages being aggregated. So you have these podcast aggregators that aren't your directories. They're other websites that just use probably robots to kind of scrape data from other places and create web pages so they can kind of pull traffic from search engine optimization and stuff. So there'll be an image that's been cached, there'll be some show notes that have been cached, but the actual audio connection into the RSS feed no longer exists. And that doesn't really play very well into your whole space of your business, if you're thinking of it as a podcast for your business. And understanding that when you put something out there, it gets cached and recached, and it just turns into this bigger thing than you. Being able to control that is really, really important. Being able to control when you say stop, So if people do decide to follow your journey, if you give them a stop, you direct them somewhere else. So even if the podcast RSS feed itself fades, if someone's copying your show notes into an aggregator or something, there'll still be a link to your website, right? So that link doesn't die. Like, you can push someone to a new podcast if you decided to, for example, right? So I just wanted to get that out there because a lot of people don't think about this. And it's really, really important to understand that, yes, this happens and you need to be proactive in figuring out how to just make it work for you, how to make these aggregators, these scrapers or whatever work in your favor. Because it's free, so you might as well work it to some kind of form of monetization, right? So we've done that. The first thing is obviously leveraging your passion. So if you are in business as a solopreneur, a face first company, like your face is at the front of a company, whatever, and you're doing the podcast, you're leveraging your passion. So whatever it is you're into, you probably can create a course to help somebody, right? And from that, you can create a book. I know, like, everyone's like, oh, creating a book. No, but seriously, if you create a book, it really does help you position yourself as an expert in whatever you're doing. But it's also a low cost access point for people into your world. Like, you create a book and it costs maybe £9 or something, versus your course, which may be anywhere from £25 to £2,500. Like, that's a thing, and that's okay. But if you leverage your passion in this kind of way, and I know this sits into reusing episodes into other assets, but leveraging your passion in as many ways as you can maintain, manage, and are also passionate about is really important. So when it comes to your podcast, make it work for you. You know, don't just talk for the sake of talking. Talk because there's something you're helping people with. Talk because you have access to other people that your audience doesn't have access to, and you really think they should have access to that, right? Whatever you're doing is making your podcast super valuable. You're not just doing a podcast for podcast's sake, right? And if you want to dive deeper into that, I think in the first video, or it's going to be as part of a freebie on my website, there is the 6 pillars to podcast creation, light version. Because the real version actually costs you £120 if you come onto a Zoom call with me, where I spent an hour and a half grilling you mentally into these pillars, so you actually understand this very, very point, so you don't forget when you have one of those bad days that you need to come back to this, right? So that segues quite nicely into reusing episodes in other assets. And now when I say this, am I going to mention it? Yes, I am, because I created a bonus episode because I was quite excited about this idea, but I'll put it in here as well. So repurposing your episodes into other assets. If you have done, let's say, for example, you've done 50 podcast episodes and you are archiving and documenting them appropriately. So with every episode, you have your show notes in a file, you have keywords in a file, you have clips, notable clips as well that have been clipped out by your editor into a folder that you can actually use to create something else, to aggregate into something else. And you can do that to create a course. You could create an audio-only course if you wanted to. And there's this platform that I'm really loving at the moment for private podcasting called helloaudio.fm. A friend of mine introduced me to it, and then I ignored it. But then, recently, I've had clients asking about private podcasting, and some of them are already setting up on there. And it's great for private podcasting because you can create a private podcast for your email list, right? You can create an audio course, create a private podcast for it, and use it as a lead generator, right? To get people onto your email list. Be like, hey guys, this is an email list only podcast. You will only get these episodes if you're signed up to this email list. And with Hello Audio, I am an affiliate, but I'm an affiliate because I freaking love what they do. And I'm just like, yes, I will share this everywhere. Not the other way around. But doing that is a way for you to diversify how your podcast reaches people, right? So beyond that, other options are actually creating blog posts. So this is the content recreation or content creation thing, which is so hot right now. A lot of people are doing it. It's not my vibe. Like I don't really care to do all of that. I focus on audio. If you want to repurpose stuff, there are people who I'd highly recommend you to. I do transcriptions anyway with software that I use. So creating a blog post via transcription is super easy. You just have to make sure it makes sense. Because if you're talking and you've got these ums and ahs and repeats of words, you need to edit all of that out. But you can repurpose your podcast episodes into blog posts. And you can turn them into little tweets. You can turn them into little audiograms. You can turn them into really funky like audio text animations, whatever. There is so much you can do. And if you know what your assets are and you know what you're looking for, so if you need image content for Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook or whatever, you can take little phrases out of a theme of podcast episodes you've done and create an entire thing that could last an entire year. I mean, from 50 episodes, you could easily have 500 pieces of content out of that, easily, okay? But I mean, I could go on forever, but I'm not going to because I want to keep this super short, and we're already 11 minutes in, and the next two might take a little bit longer to explain. So have planned breaks. I've fallen foul of this. A few other people have fallen foul of this. Having planned breaks means you get to have a life, and you get to fully switch off when you do kind of go and have a life. I know I'm guilty of this, and I know other entrepreneurial types are as well. When you work for yourself, you are everyone, right? You are the omega of your business, the alpha, the beta, the gamma, the omega, the kappa, phi, 5, whatever. Like, you are everything and everyone in your business. Even when you delegate out, if you don't know, and I'm learning this right now, if you don't know how to delegate to the point that you don't have to be a part of what's going on, then you're constantly being dragged down, and your podcast will do exactly the same thing as well. So it's really important for you to stay on top of that and to fully schedule in times when you're not podcasting, when you're not even thinking about podcasting, right? Because depending on your podcast style, your podcast production, podcast presentation style, you should know this already. And that was 2 videos ago. 3 videos ago. 3 videos ago. So if you don't know what your podcast production style is, go to video number, I suppose video 2 and 3, because they're in both of those. All right. And do it. Dedicate yourself to actually having time off. Dedicate yourself to actually not being present in your podcast space. If you can do that, then you're already winning. And every time you come back to the podcast, it's fresh, it's exciting, it's new, you're hyped for it, and your listeners will appreciate it as well, right? Especially if you told them, hey guys, I'm breaking up for summer. You guys need to break up for summer too. If you're living healthily, then you want to lead by example. And I'm going to be back in the fall. So I'll be back in October time. And they'll know that, and tell them to stay on your email list, right? You can do a little, again, with the private podcasting, you can do a little kind of special summer edition that you did in January that no one knows about, but you planned all of that, right? My music teacher told me this thing, and it stuck with me forever. And I know there's one word in here that isn't meant to be in here, but it's called the 6 Ps. And it's prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. And I know piss poor is not meant to be in there, but it works. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. And I live by that sometimes. And you should too. So you should definitely plan your breaks in. And if you don't, you're going to burn out. That's just what's going to happen. All right. And your final bit. So the secret everything is best of seasons. This obviously happens after you've created a pool of content that you can work through. And I said this literally 4 minutes ago, creating an archiving system that you can dive into and be like, oh, on episode 16, I did this, and I said it again on episode 42, and I mentioned it by in episode 58. You need to be able to jump around your archive to find good content. Having it clipped as well is super handy. if the clips are over edited and you wanted to stitch them together, that starts to become a problem, especially if you switch editors. So if you create your own standardization of how to make clips where it's just in, out, and not edited. So if you wanted to add another clip in from the same thing, you can stitch them together and it's not a problem. This is more of an editor's thing, but it's important for you as a podcast owner to understand that, because if you have these clips and you go to an editor and be like, hey, can you stitch these two together, and they've been faded in and out and we don't have the original file, we're just going to be like, we can put them together, but there's like 4.5 words missing in the middle and it's very, very noticeable. We can't build something from zilch, right? 0 times 0 is 0. So keep that in mind. Create an archiving system. But creating best of seasons are amazing. If you want to repurpose, again, this goes back into your assets. If you want to repurpose your stuff and say, for example, create a YouTube clips channel, all right? Creating a clips channel is, I say, 0 effort, because you don't need to be a part of that. You don't need to record anything, because clips are from things that already exist. So all you have to do is throw it onto an editor. Throw it onto me and just be like, hey, I want a season of clips for this, and I want a season of clips for that, and I want a season for this and that, the other, right? Between an editor and a project manager or your VA or whoever is in charge of archiving, you can literally create an entire YouTube clips channel in a month, right? And from that, you can promote that on your email list. You can promote that on social media. You can create audiograms from the clips. Like, you can just literally create a whole new hog of content. You can create courses. Again, like if you find stuff and put it together into these clips and into best ofs, your best ofs can become a course if you want it to. It's literally that easy. But ultimately, with all of this, it's designed to get you starting in thinking about future-proofing. All right. If you don't want to podcast forever, like I think Joe Rogan will probably die with headphones on his head and a microphone in front of his mouth, because like the man is unstoppable considering all the stuff he eats, elk meat. But like he does MMA podcast and his own podcast, and each of those things is anywhere from 2 to 4 hours long every freaking day, and he's doing them day by day. So he might be 3 or 4 days ahead, but I think he's actually 10 days ahead. But it gives him room to go and do his UFC commentary and everything. So he's already kind of ahead of the game because he's got his comedy life and UFC commentary and stuff to do. So I'm inviting you to do the same. Not quite in his style, not quite in Joe Rogan, in Jordan Peterson or Jocko Willink or whatever. Be more Stephen Fry. But also as a business owner, and being, a business owner, podcaster / whatever else, you need to put some future-proofing breaks into your podcasting. You need to put some future-proofing breaks into your business, to be honest. But in this, it's really, really important. If you want to keep it going, if you want it to keep on having some validity, because in addition to, the expense that you're doing, even as a basic of £5 a month, which is £72 a year, 5 times 12, 60 pounds, £60 a year. I should know that. So £60 a year, you need to value that £60 a year. What is that £60 investment going to return in your podcast, right? And this is how you do it when you're future-proofing, when you're designing courses, when you're propping up email lists, when you're really pushing out insane content to bring people to whatever you need them to. If your course is £25 and you have 4 sales, you've already covered the cost of your podcast for the year. And if it's come from your podcast, then, you get your value back. So now I'm kind of just rabbiting on a little bit now, but I hope this has been helpful. This was probably the shortest one out of all seven episodes of this. I don't know if I want to call it episodes or not, but yeah, that's what it is. fi.me/PNP. So I'm about to put a link up for you guys to go and check out, because these videos are all being held on a page. There's a lot of information on there as well. And eventually, when I can be bothered to do it, which will be very, very soon, I promise, There'll be some freebies on there. There'll be 6 pillars to content creation or podcast creation, the light version. There will be my Find Your Online Voice grassroots guide to audio tech, light version, because it's a 40-page document. Otherwise, if you want to pay for it, I'll put a link down there as well. And this is all happening because of a podcast network project that I am launching in January after my birthday. And the podcast network project, I need to get that right, PNP, is designed for business owners and entrepreneurs to join in a podcast revolution whereby you are crowd resourcing. So, there's crowdsourcing and crowdfunding. This is crowd resourcing, where 10 of you will be splitting various costs to be able to have your podcast looked after, show notes created, audiograms created, audio edited, and your podcast being hosted underneath the Audiofy Soul Podcast Network, ASPN. So the link for you to check out is here. Are you going to show? There we go. So there it is. So it's there for you. If you are interested in finding out more, send me a message. If you have questions, send me a message. You can slide into my DMs on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Just drop a comment on YouTube, I think is better for everybody. But yeah, if you have more questions, go check out the link first, which is down here. It's down here, right here. Go check this out. Go have a noodle. Go have a squiz. There are there's only two more videos that are due to come out on that page. But if you follow the live stream, it'll come on YouTube and LinkedIn and Facebook, if I haven't broken Facebook again like I did earlier today using OBS. But until then, I will see your gorgeous faces in the next live stream. Okay, hasta banana. Goodbye.